Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining. We are the product success team. I am Lex.
And I am Rodney.
Today, we will be going over the Hostess feature for Aldelo Express. If you have any questions, please keep your questions related to the topic at hand. Please keep yourself muted during this presentation. However, if you do have immediate questions, you can ask your questions in a chat. We will be monitoring the chat as always. Otherwise, you can ask your questions verbally when we open up the floor for questioning, and make sure you unmute yourself at that time. Hostess is mainly used for dine-in and table services. Hostess shows the status of each table, whether there is an actual hostess or not. Customers can be directed to an open table. As there are tables, you'll see whether the tables are open. These statuses are open, seated, printed kitchen, check printed, paid, reserved. These statuses are color coded. We also have reservations. This is for customers that wants to request future dates and select the table. And we also have wait lists as well. These two are optional. Wait list is for customers that arrive. There are no available seats and customers can place themselves on a wait list. What enables the hostess for Aldelo Express? As long as you have an active table and table group, hostess will be enabled. If you do not want hostess enabled, do not add any tables. If you already have tables, all you need to do is hide the tables. You can also move the tables by holding down one finger on the table and moving the table across the screen. This feature is only available for iOS. You can also add new tables by tapping two fingers on the screen or adding new tables from the cloud. By swiping right to left, you'll have access to seating groups. You can select seating group like patio, dining room, or you can edit and make the tables visible or hide the tables. You can also add pictures to the layouts by going to the cloud, selecting table and adding pictures to the tables. And in some cases, you can enable some features to manually clear tables. Sometimes you have customers that pays for the order, but they are still sitting at the table. Reservations is included. To enable reservations, you'll need to go to settings, store config, hostess config, reservations tab, and then you want to enable the reservations feature. Just say yes there. Reservations for customers that calls in or walks in and wants to reserve a table. To access the reservations from the hostess page, you're going to swipe from left to right, and all you'll need are the date and time for the requested date. You'll also need the table number. This is optional. You'll also want the customer name and phone number. You'll also want the number of guests arriving and the occasion. So like birthdays, anniversaries, and promotion. This is optional. When the table is ready, you can text to customer so they can sit down. And then for customers that are no-show, we also have expiring reservation grace minutes. If enabled, say you added 30 minutes to the expiring reservation grace minutes. Once the time has passed, the reservations will automatically close. Wait list is also optional. Wait lists are for customers that did not reserve ahead of time but wants to wait. To enable the wait list, you want to go to settings, store config, hostess config, and waitlist tab. From there, you'll see the enable waitlist feature. You want to go ahead and say yes there. Waitlist is for customers that arrives. However, all the tables are taken, but customer wants to put themselves on a waitlist. All you need for the waitlist is the customer name, the customer phone number, the number of guests arriving, and occasion. So the occasion is optional. And then once the table is ready, you can text table to customer, or if they did not provide a phone number, you can call out a customer name. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and transfer the call to Rodney.
So we're going to go ahead and start on the back office cloud. We do need to make sure settings are enabled for certain Hostess operations. Features such as adding table groups and tables can be performed from both the back office cloud and the application. But keep in mind, to adjust the table layouts, that can only be done currently from the iPad. So if a restaurant will have an actual hostess greeting and assigning tables for customers, it is not a requirement, but it would be best that the hostess station is using an iPad. Other devices throughout the restaurant can use Android devices if desired. Let's go ahead and get into the settings. We're going to go ahead and start with the seating. So we're going to go into settings, in seatings. And here you will see the tables that are assigned to each group here. And you'll see that we did actually add pictures for the table. So this will take place of the default blue button that you'll see in the hostess screen. And within each table, we have defined how many max guests can seat at the table. You can actually move tables from group to group from the cloud by clicking the drop down and assigning to a new group if desired. And we have attached a picture here. And if you need to discontinue a table, you can toggle the table to discontinued. On the application itself, it will be a table that is hidden and can be reactivated from the cloud as well as on the application. Okay, so the next thing we're going to go over is enabling the reservation and waitlist. That is done under the store config and hostess config. So right now we do not have the reservation enabled, so we do have to turn that on. Now this is if the restaurant will be taking advantage of the reservation feature. So it is enabled. You'll see some features are now available. The reservation requires customer association, basically requires a customer phone number when creating the reservation. If this is turned off, the phone number is optional. And you can set a reservation advance booking minimum days. So if you define a value here, let's say we set the minimum days to 1, they have to book at least a day in advance. If we leave this blank, they can't create reservations on the current date. And same with the maximum days. They can limit how far in the future they can set a reservation there. In the expiration reservation grace minutes, right now it's set to 15 minutes. So once a reservation is created, if the customer does not show up after 15 minutes, if the customer is not checked in, the reservation will cancel automatically. And then there are some print options here that can be turned on. There will be a guest ticket that prints upon check-in and then upon seat assignment. So that can be enabled. That's optional. We'll go ahead and save this. So one thing to note is when you're in the Hostess config, if you are enabling reservation, you do have to save before moving on to waitlist if you are going to enable waitlist as well, and vice versa. I'm going to go into waitlist next and enable that. This also prompts for a customer association. I'm going to leave that off, and then the same print options that we had in the reservation, I'll go ahead and save as is. Okay, and then the next thing we are going to do is go into the device configuration. And we'll go ahead and select device number 1 here. Now what I'm going to show you is the initial POS screen upon login. So device number 1 will be the hostess station, where there's an actual hostess that manages the table assignments. You can set the POS screen login to be the hostess screen. So once the employee does log in, it'll take them into the hostess screen there. I'll go ahead and save this. And there's another feature where we can turn on a setting. So it's under the order type config and table service options. I'm going to turn on the settled dining table needs force clear. What this feature is going to do is require that the table is manually cleared so that after the patrons have left, the busboys do have to clean the table so that the table will be available for the next seating there. Turning this on will require that they manually clear that status. So I'll go and save. And the last thing you want to do is make sure that the employee that will be the hostess does have the hostess feature enabled. So I'm going to go into the staff and employees. I'll choose my employee file here. And we're going to go and click on show extended settings. And under the POS operations, you want to set the employee as is hostess and hit save. So even if they did not enable the is hostess feature, employees can access the tables and layouts, but they will not be able to access the reservations and wait list. So that's it from the cloud. We're going to go ahead and move to the application here. All right, so we are on the application now. I'll go ahead and run a sync because we did make some changes on the cloud. I want to pick up those changes. As you recall, I did set up this device to automatically pull up the hostess once I log in. So it does take us into the hostess here. So as you know, with the iPads, we can relocate the tables. So I'm going to take table P4 here. I'm going to press down until the item wiggles, drag and drop to a different location. I can do the same here and drop it back to the original location. If I wanted to hide the table, I can two-finger tap and hide it from here. From here, I can also update the guest count if needed. So if I wanted to change that to 3, I can do that. Or if I wanted to hide the table as well, I can set it to hide and it's removed. Now, if I go into the seating groups by swiping right to left, I can go into edit groups here. You'll see the table is hidden. I can set that back to visible and the table is back. I can drag and drop to the original location there. Now going back into the select groups, if I wanted to choose to view the different layouts here, I can choose a different room. And if I go back to the edit groups where we went in earlier, if I wanted to make some edits here, I can add some groups by tapping on new seating group, or if I wanted to add a new table, I can select the add table icon and add new tables there. You see these are all the tables here. If I needed to add a table, I could two-finger tap on a blank area of the screen. Let's call this P8. Now we do have a table that shows up and it does not have a picture associated. Any picture associations do need to be defined on the cloud. Now, if I wanted to update the max seats on this table, I can two-finger tap that and add the quantity there. And now you can see right above the table, there's the number 4 for the number of seats available there. And now we're going to go into reservations. I'm going to go ahead and create a reservation here. So we'll tap on new reservation, set a date and time. We'll set it to 4 o'clock. And we'll select a specific table here. And the customer name is required. And you'll see that the new customer phone number is required because we did enable the customer association. So we do have to put a number here. And we can change the number of guests. And we can add an occasion here. And once I save, you'll see the reservation is saved. There's an icon on the bottom right of the window there that indicates that there is an occasion for this reservation. Right, and then you'll see because there is a phone number added there, the text table ready to customer is highlighted and you can send a text to the customer. I'm going to go ahead and now create a wait list here. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a new customer. And the phone number is not required. So as Lex mentioned, if they don't provide a number, they can just call out the name of the customers there. And we'll go ahead and we'll save this customer on the wait list here. Because I did set a reservation and set it to a specific table, you'll see that the color changes there. And if you look at the color coding on the bottom or the legend below, that dark blue is for reserved. So we're going to go over the different stages on how these tables reflect in the Hostess. So I'll go ahead and go back into the reservations. And I'll go ahead and give them an early check-in here. So I'll do a check-in and we'll do a seat now. And you'll see that the color converts to green. That is because the customer is now seated. And if I do the same for the wait list, I can seat the party. So they had a party of 5. You can find a room that can accommodate. So I'll choose this here. And you'll see that color does convert to green. So we're going to go ahead and work with the reservation here. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the reserved table, and I'll go and recall that. And now it takes us into the menu. I'll go ahead and put some items in and hit the check to submit. Now, if we go back into the Hostess, you'll see that the status is now kitchen printed, mustard color there. I'm just going to go and recall that order again. And when we're ready to print the guest check, we'll tap on the print button there and hit print receipt. It will print out the guest check. Then we'll check the status again. And it is now purple for the check printed. Let's go ahead and recall that again. And now when they're ready to pay, we'll go and hit the settle button. It'll take us into the settle screen. And this is just our demo. So the different payment tenders are limited here. We'll go ahead and pay this out in cash. And it is very important to print the receipt or email the receipt or text the receipt in order for the status to change in the Hostess. So I'll go and choose the print receipt option. You'll see print there. And it takes us back into the recall screen. We'll now check the status in the Hostess for that table. And you're going to see that it is in red. So the ticket has been paid for. So even after the customer pays, there can be a period where the patrons are still at the table, whether they're socializing or whatnot, or the tables still have to be cleaned by the busboys. The table is not ready to be assigned. So once the hostess gets notification that the table has been cleaned after the patrons have left, you can go back into the Hostess, tap on the table. You'll see it says set table is ready. We'll go and hit yes, and it clears the table. So they'll be able to take the next order there. So with that, do we have any questions? All right, so looking into the chat here, Henry, it looks like you're having an issue. If you swipe up, there should be a cancel button if it exists there. Let me see here. If I can get this on my screen here, I can kind of show you. But yeah, when you have an existing, you do have to actually select the reservation first and then swipe up on it, and you will see that. Let me see if I can get that here for you.
I'll go ahead and stop my share here.
Okay. So yeah, if we're in the Hostess here, let me actually select version of my screen here. Okay, so if you can see we're in the Hostess. If I go into the reservations here, I can select a reservation here. I'll swipe up. They haven't checked in yet. I can cancel it or mark it as a no-show or a walkout. If you saw that, if you didn't see it on the first one, you'll see those options at the very bottom there.
Once you sit down the customer, the only way to void out is you actually have to void out the order itself. So you have to cancel the order before the customer's been seated.
Yeah, once you seat the customer, you do have to void out the order or cancel the order.
Yeah.
Yeah, the text feature works. Unfortunately, with our demo account, Brad, we don't have any available text. But yeah, you can, if you were sending a text via reservation, it'll let you know your reservation is ready, and also if you're on a wait list, it'll let you know your table's ready. They just have to manually initiate the text to the customer. So we do thank you again for joining. If you haven't, subscribe to our YouTube channel to help us out there, and we will see you on the next one.
Right. Thanks, everyone.